I heard about the man that jumped in the ocean on a Disney um, vacation cruise ship. His daughter, 5-year-old daughter, fell overboard, and then he jumped in to save her. I didn't know the full scope of it. This woman here is talking about how. Let me go back. Let me see.
um, the to care about the community at large, the community,
Hold on,
your
let
little
me go all
family.
the way back.
I really hope for the sake of the daughter and the mother that this man's name is never released. You know, the Disney dad who was allegedly taking a photo of his daughter on the railing before she fell overboard on the fourth floor of a cruise ship, or the fourth deck, whatever. And then this hero dad jumped in to save her. I would expect nothing less of this man, since it seems like most likely he is the only reason she went in the water. So the least you could do is save the life that you endanger, which is what which is, if you know my work, I talk about this all the time. Cecilia Regina just did a great video on this yesterday about how often men put their own children in danger, either from their recklessness, their ego, their hubris, their you just lack of respect for human life, and just not caring, not paying attention, and thinking that they have a handle on things. Because unlike women and the emotional labor that women are constantly doing in terms of the care of the community, and if you have not read Rose Hackman's book, Emotional Labor, please go get it now, and all of this will open your eyes so much. But women have.
Let me just stop this right here. But um, do I feel like the man was in the wrong? Yeah. Why are you putting your child, your 5-year-old child, on a railing that you know that there's no safety net, no nothing, and that she's gonna go overboard if she falls in, and a 5-year-old's not gonna hold themselves up to not go in. However, do I agree with this woman and her analogy of men concerning fatherhood? Are there men who are narcissistic and could care less about their children? Yes, of course. Same with women. Um, but when she goes on, and I'm like, man, she's really got a harsh view about fathers concerning their children, because there's very good fathers out there, but she doesn't give any of the good fathers any kind of credit. And she puts statistics in here about how, she worked some kind of rescue job, and it was always, men putting their children in danger, their wives in danger, da 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 da. But I'm gonna play this. So let me go over to where she kind of puts a confession about herself in here, and
One pistachio for you, sir.
Shit. And I'm a
One
feminist,
strawberry
okay?
proof, please.
Oh,
Swipe and see what's going on. And every day, it seems contained
I
environment.
am a feminist, right?
His wife,
However,
cruise ship of
I
people.
don't consider.
Dreams. When I think of the sound of the daughter when she learned that her mother died in the river that day in New Mexico, my first day on the river, and we had to be a part of the attempted rescue, but ended up being like body recovery in the end because she was dead. CPR, Z lines, getting her body up a canyon wall. First day on the river. Everyone in my boat, including myself, everyone in our whole tour, every boat that went by, will never forget that. And this man's decision to get a photo. Oh, I'll just put her on the banister. They leave them in hot cars. They take them places they have no.
She's really harsh.
No business being. Why? Because they just are so overconfident as parents, even though they participate the least. So even if they are not outright abusing their children, physically, mentally, emotionally, in all these other ways, even like a good dad who's very active, his own ego, his own hubris, his own overestimation of himself, and not paying attention to every single detail, every single thing that child is doing. I mean, even a 5-year-old is, y'all, being around a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, swear to God, it feels like they are on a mission to die, okay? Children do not understand how dangerous things are. That is the adult's job, to protect them from themselves, because they don't understand just jumping off or running in, you know what I mean? Touching hot things. Like you have to be 5 steps ahead of children. So what we need to start doing more of is not giving dads and men the benefit of the doubt. And yet, as Cecilia Regina mentioned in her video, women who...
Let me just say this. Women have left their kids in hot cars and forgot them in hot cars just the same as men have. Okay? So her saying that, basically saying that only men have left their kids in hot cars and only men have endangered their kids, da 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 da. I've seen a lot of women do some really foul shit. And I'm a feminist. I've seen a lot of women do some really foul shit to their children and not put their children first and put them into some really scary, dangerous situations. But she's going to go on to say that she grew up without a father in the home and that her mother chose to not have a man in the house. And she goes on to say how because of her mother's choices she felt much safer. Let me just say this. I grew up with a father in the house. I grew up with a father who loved his children, and I mean loved his children. Like, did we get disciplined? Yeah. Did we get corrected? Yeah. We got corrected when we were in the wrong. And if you asked any of my siblings, they'd say the same thing. Even my brothers, who would literally get an ass whooping, right? Every single one of them will tell you whenever they got an ass whooping from my dad, they totally deserved it, right? They knew they were so out of pocket when they got corrected that they deserved it. This is what I want to say, though. I was like 6 or 7 years old, and we were sitting all sitting down eating cheese pizza at the dinner table. And you know, my dad had no medical training, no nothing, right? My dad did construction work. He built houses, he built bridges, he built so much shit in his life in construction, and I'm talking about big construction projects, right? No medical, nothing. And I start choking on the cheese slid down my throat. You know how when you're a kid and you have that really soft cheese when the pizza's kind of hot and it slips down your windpipe and stuff? Well, I started choking. And my mom sat there and she fucking froze and panicked. However, my dad, with no medical training, not knowing the fuck to do, flips me upside down by my feet and just starts pounding on my back until the cheese comes out my throat, down my throat, out of my mouth, and out of my windpipe. That's just one example. I remember my dad doing a lot of things to keep his children safe from things. So I don't feel this woman is giving actual fathers, legit fathers that love their children, enough credit. It's kind of sad, but let her play on.
Do not have a man in the home. Therefore, they do not have a threat in the home, a possible threat, one of the statistically biggest threats in the home in their lives. If they don't have a man in the home, then those women are also judged. As someone who was raised by a single mom, I honestly think that was the safest position I could have possibly been in. I think that my mom not bringing another man into our home after our dad left was one of the most selfless and thoughtful and caring and loving decisions she could have ever made. I'm not saying that she should never ever have dated. Sometimes it works out. But not having a man in our home, we are all being forced to center and entrust our lives to, was honestly one of the safest scenarios I could have possibly been in, given.
So she doesn't have an experience where she had a father figure in her life that would actually lay his life on the line for his children, because there's a lot of men out there who will lay their life on the line for their families and for their children. So it's a pity that she never had that. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that there are men that actually do that. I don't know what her scenario is. I'm reading, I kind of do, but I don't want to overreach, because I do some psychoanalysis or, picture reading, facial reading, and all that stuff for their spirit. And I'm reading something off of her concerning that whole situation she's speaking out about. But she's not giving actual good fathers credit. She's not. Are there really shitty fathers out there? Most definitely. But in the same token, as many shitty fathers as there are out there, there's shitty fucking mothers as well that don't put the safety of their children first, that would put their child on that fucking balcony to get a fucking selfie picture, whatever, the same as that father did, right? I'm not condoning what the father did. Yeah, he jumped overboard to go save his child, but he should have, because he put her in danger. However, that doesn't say that every father is putting their child in jeopardy and danger. I'm like flabbergasted at this woman. Let's continue.
The alternative, and yet single moms are judged constantly. And then, moms who marry
that's
single
true.
moms
Single mothers
are
are
afraid
judged.
to leave their children with their own husband. Not because those men are incapable of taking care, but they don't respect life. They don't respect parenting. They're too lazy and indifferent to actually do the things that means anticipating the needs and the dangers around them that their children will face. You don't pay enough attention to what the kids eat. Look, we've seen interviews. The kids don't even know their kids' teachers. They don't know their kids' friends. They don't even know their own children's birthdays. And
that can be said about mothers as well. So she has a very biased outlook concerning fathers, sadly, because she has no experience with a good father. She wasn't raised with a father, so she doesn't know what one looks like. And that's pretty sad. However, I'm just like flabbergasted at the fact that she can't acknowledge that women do exactly the same thing that the men she's describing do. Because they do. They do with their children. Anyways, I thought I'd just bring this to people's attention because I don't know if they've heard about the situation. I didn't know the man had the little girl on a railing. That's pretty shitty. However, yeah, he should have jumped in the ocean to go save his child. And he's lucky that she's alive. Anyways, I didn't like this lady's take on it all. At all. I'm going to be honest. Because there's really good fathers out there. I mean, really good fathers out there. And there's really good mothers out there. But on the flip side, there's some pretty shitty fathers and pretty shitty mothers. And they're equally shitty. Just saying.